blurt it out. Look, y'all, today is the day, okay? I am about to blurt my story out, okay? I got my tissue here in case the conversation gets real and the tears have to fall. And I got my palm tree here for support. So, today's video, I want to talk about hurt, specifically parental hurt. Now, before I start talking about anything, I want to make a disclaimer. You know, when a person shares their story, somebody is going to be offended. Somebody is going to be offended, whether it is the person that you're talking about, whether it's people that are close to that person, whether it's your whole family who says this is supposed to be the family secret note, whatever it is, somebody is going to be offended. And the thing is you can't control that. I can't control that. And so this video is not to purposely offend anyone. This video is not to disrespect anyone. And because we're talking about parental hurt, I will be speaking about my mother and my father. So this video is never to disrespect them, dishonor them, but it is to get out what occurred, because there is healing in that, and there is someone else on the other side of the screen who's watching this, who is currently going through the same thing or who has gone through something similar, and this is going to help them. So this is not a disrespectful, this is not a bash video. This is simply me sharing parts of my life with you all. So I will start off with with my dad, simply because I experienced hurt by him, but he didn't cause the majority of my hurt. It was my mother. And you hear a lot about, parental hurt, absent fathers. But what you don't hear a lot about is absent mothers, neglectful mothers, mothers who were there, but they weren't there. And so I'm gonna save my mom for last, simply because there's just more to her than it is to my father. So my father was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Yeah, I'm going right in. My father was sentenced to 30 years in prison for molesting my sister, his stepdaughter, okay? So he went away when I was pretty young. I really don't remember how old I was, maybe 5 or 6 or something. So I didn't really get to know my father because he went away when I was so young. And I would write him, while he was in prison. My grandmother, his mom, would come and pick me up sometimes and take me to visit him, but I still didn't know him. So he was finally released. He did half of his sentence, 15 years, and he has the rest on parole. And so when my father, I already feel, when my father was released from prison, I was ecstatic because I'm like, I finally get to have my dad. I finally get to have a dad. Somebody that I can call, I can text, like I can go see him, I can hug him. And so I was beyond excited that my father was getting released. And so when he did, I was there for him so much of the way. Like I was going to see him almost every other weekend. He was in a different city than me, about 3 hours away. And so I was going to see him all the time, going shopping for his little apartment, and we're cooking together. Y'all, we would be on the phone watching TV shows together. I'm like, did you hear that? We're laughing at it. We were just building that bond that I never experienced before. And so it was just like I was just in on cloud 9, because I'm experiencing something that I haven't before, and it's amazing, and we have so much in common. Like, this is really my daddy, like because we got each other. And so the relationship was great. And I was, calling him. I would go to work with him. And, he worked overnight. So I would, fall asleep in the break room while he's still working. Or, sometimes we would just stay up all night, talking. And it was, um, it was just a really good time. And I enjoyed it while it lasted. Um, but then one day when I was at work, my dad called me and he said, "I have something to tell you." And I said, "Okay." And he said, I have unnatural feelings for you." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, you like me?" you know? And y'all, that broke me because things were never the same after that. How do I continue to move forward in our relationship? How do I now feel comfortable, if I'm there at your home and I'm, in my pajamas and, maybe my shorts are a tad bit too short or, something. How do I now continue just being myself, knowing that you now have these unnatural feelings towards me? And, I was like, do I remind you of my mom? Like, like what is it, And I was so, y'all, I cried so hard that day. Like, my coworker walked me outside because we were really close, and she just prayed with me and talked with me. And but that day my heart was broken by my father, and a part of me wished that I had never got that relationship with him or start building that relationship with him, because this hurt much worse than had he not, been in my life at all. I went so long without it, and now I got a glimpse of what it was like to have him there in that close proximity. And now you just messed this all up, you know. And I saw counseling, and she says, I'll work with men who are fresh out. And, you know, I get that. I get that he may not have been in his right mind, but the truth of the matter is he said that. And he almost tried to groom me for it, because before that, when I was down there before, he told me stories about, inmates that he was locked up with, and how, they had got in relationships with their children. And I was like, ew. That's what I said. And as I had time to think afterwards, it was like, was he telling me that story to see my reaction? What if I would have been like, oh, well, I understand that? Or, what if I would have tried to make that seem okay? Would something have further happened? I don't know. But our relationship has not recovered from that. And, he apologized, he called, he left voicemails. And, I told him, like, I forgive you, I do. Um, but things will just not, they can't be the same. And the crazy thing about it is that even after he told me that, I still wanted to go visit him. I still wanted things to be the same, because I finally got a taste of what it was like to have him. But things, they couldn't be the same. And so there was still a lot of healing in me that has to occur, because I'm like, you broke my heart. I've only had my heart broke one other time, and that was, puppy love. And you really broke my heart. And it's hard, because I now have something to miss. Before, when I really didn't know him, I couldn't miss anything other than the fact that I just don't have a dad. But now I I have something to miss, and that is what hurts. It's because I miss those times where we were just talking, and you know, just talking on the phone for hours, and texting back and forth all throughout the day, corny stuff, just laughing. And I miss those moments. I miss those moments of just calling him randomly, "Hey dad, what you doing?" you know and some of you are probably saying, like, well, you can still pick up the phone. It's not the same. And even though I've forgiven my father, the reconciliation is not at 100%, and I don't know that it ever will be. And I'm honestly not sure if it's something that I want to be. what I do appreciate is that he's still there. He still texts me every now and then. You know, we talk every now and then. And it's just the fact that he's there. And so a lot of my family, they don't know that, you know, and this is not to blast him, but this is simply just to, you know, to put it out there because this kind of stuff has to be talked about. It's not okay. And so that is my parental hurt. That is my father hurt. You know, of course, you know, just not having a father there, period, in general, in my whole life caused a lot of shaping in my life. But I would say that that situation right there is what really, um, it broke my heart. That's the only thing that I usually use to describe that situation is that my heart was broken. Um, yes, yeah, so that is my dad, and I made it through that without crying. So round of applause. um, water. So let's get on to my mom. My mom passed away 2019. She passed away from pancreatic cancer. It took her very quickly. In less than a year, she found out, and in less than a year, she was gone. She's no longer here with me. I do believe that she is in a better place. So, with my mom, as I've thought about this a lot, because I'm in the process of going through inner healing, and what the lady who's going through this process with me, she told me to do is write down uh, three of the most traumatic experiences or three of the biggest things that occurred with my mother. Because as I was walking through it, it was so hard for me again to say that I forgive her and all the hurt that came up behind me talking about my mother and anger mixed in there. Uh, I needed to write it out and get it out and have somebody walk through this with me. And so the thing about forgiveness is that sometimes you have to forgive a person more than once, over and over and over and over again. I didn't know that for a long time until a mentor of mine shared her story and how she had to continue forgiving her father again. And it was in different areas and in different layers. Like, man, now this has happened. You know, this new layer has been uncovered, and now I have to forgive you in this. And so it's been a continuous process of forgiving my mother. And so I want to talk about the three things where I received where parental was hurt. I'm sorry. I want to talk about the three things where I had parental hurt from my mother. And so the first place that I have to forgive my mother again in is allowing me at the age of 15 to leave college, high school. I was in a program where you take college classes while you're in high school and then you graduate with your associates and your high school diploma at the same time. And you have to be accepted into this program, and I was accepted. And so I had reconnected with a guy that I used to like back in the day when I was 9 years old. We moved around a lot, me and my mother, and so I lost touch with this guy, and he found me on MySpace when I was 15 years old, and we reconnected, and my mom allowed me to go down and visit him for the summer, him and his family, and it was like fairy tale. Like, it was just so just giddy. My heart is full. I'm all in love. He's all in love. And, you know, we were both virgins at the beginning of the summer. And by the end of the summer, we were not. You know, I really did love this guy. I really did. I know people like, oh, you're young. You don't know what love is. And I did. I did love him. And I believed for a long time that that is who I was supposed to be with. So we reconnected over the summer. You know, it was just amazing. People, oh, y'all look alike, and you know, everybody just pumping me up. His mom pumping me up, and you know, he, even though it may not have been real, He proposed over the summer, and so I'm like, we're gonna get married. Y'all, I was blinded by love. I was blinded by love. So I'm giving this backstory because it adds up to the first place I'm talking about my mother with. So, anyways, um, I leave from that summer. I'm heartbroken because I'm just like, I can't live without him. I don't want to be in another city. And so his mother ended up talking to my mother. Y'all, I don't know what his mama said to my mama, but whatever she said, my mother allowed me to move to a completely different city to go live with this guy at the age of 15. I was allowed to go live with this guy. And I remember when I went to school the next day, just on cloud nine, like just ecstatic, floating. My friends are like, what? Like, you get to live with your boyfriend? My teachers were begging me not to go, on the other hand. And the counselor, she was even like, look, if it's the school, I can get you into whatever school that you want. I can get you into Booker T. If you just want to go the performing arts route, please do not leave. And I just remember them begging me not to leave. And y'all, I'm not hearing it. I'm in love. I'm about to get married. I am, y'all just might as well stop talking because I'm leaving, packing my stuff up. And that's what I did. Packed up, dropped out of that school, packed up and left. Got on the bus and left. I moved down there in November. And I remember we had just had this fairy tale summer. I moved there in November. He broke up with me in December. I'm laughing now, but that was a lot of tears for me, y'all. Broke up with me in December. I believe that situation there is what opened the demonic door of rejection for my life. I believe that is when rejection full flown came to me, because that was one of the most rejected moments I had ever experienced in my life. So I'm in a completely different city with this guy at his school, and now I'm new, so no one's talking to me. I'm eating lunch by myself. I'm doing everything on my own, and he just grows really cold and mean. So it's not even that he just broke up with me, but he broke up with me, and then he got really, really, really mean, and just cold. It was bad. It was bad, and I begged my mother, please let me come home. Please let me come home because I can't do this anymore. I can't continue seeing him with other girls now. I'm still madly in love with this guy, and he is now bringing other girls over and taking other girls to dances, and I'm just left in the background like, I came here for you. I'm cooking as like I'm your wife. I'm keeping your room cleaned like I'm your wife. You know what I mean? And it was terrible. And so I begged my mom to let me come home, and she did. She did let me come home. And it was just really hard for me because I didn't understand what I did. What did I do to you to make you treat me the way that you did? What changed? And he's only 17, so he's young. It's as simple as he don't want to be tied down. His friends probably like, your girlfriend living with you and all that, you know what I'm saying? So I don't blame him, because he was a young teenager, just like me. Girls, women, we love different. And so although I was fully invested, he's only 17. And so how that comes back around to my mother is because she should have never let me go in the first place. I was 15 years old. You shouldn't have let me go in the first place. And I never asked my mom, why did you let me go? I never asked her, and I don't know why. I've just come to my own conclusions, and my mom was really heavy on drugs most of my life, and I believe that she saw this as an opportunity to lose a responsibility, You know, she wasn't sending money down there for me or anything like that. So this was just one less thing that she had to worry about so that she could do her own thing. That's just what I think. It's not what I know, but I don't know what else uh, would allow you to allow your 15-year-old to move to another city with a guy and then you're surprised that we're having sex. Yeah. So that was just something that I've really had to work through because, I felt like she should have never let me go. And you did. And a part of me felt like you failed me as a mother because you should have protected me. I don't care how in love I am. I don't care. All that could have happened is you would have said no. Like, you would have said, no, I'm not moving down there with him. I would have had an attitude, but what could I have done had she said no, you know? Um, so that is the first thing that I am walking through with forgiving my mother for. Um, the second thing, and I have to be very careful with my words on this for legal purposes. So if it seems like I'm dancing around an issue a little bit, it's because I am. But give me a few years and I will be able to come back and share the story in full without having to dance around an issue. So some back history on this is that on my father's side, I have the three sisters and an older brother. On my father's side, out of those three daughters, two of those daughters, my sisters, two of them were involved heavily in prostitution, and they were young. They're young, like late teens. My older sister, I believe she was either late teens or early 20s, and my other sister, she was late teen. And so two of them were already in prostitution. This matters, okay? So y'all don't get lost in the story. I'm going somewhere. So I was not a bad kid. I wasn't a promiscuous kid, even though I had was intimate with my puppy love guy. I didn't come back home from that and then just go on a rampage. I actually didn't have sex with anyone until what I'm about to tell y'all now. So I was saying I wasn't a bad kid. I was a straight A student. I loved school, and so I was tutoring a girl, and her brother saw me, and he wanted to holler. And so she's like, "Yo, my brother wants to talk to you." And so I'm like, okay, exchange numbers. So we exchanged numbers. And he was about, I want to say 24. And I'm 17. Just turned 17. Or was I 16? I may have been 16, 17. Anyways, this guy's much older than me. And I am just like, whoa. Like, I've never been with anybody who has a car, who, like, you got a job, you got money, you can take me out to eat. Like, whoa. So I start talking to this guy, and it's nothing serious. It's purely sexual. And getting picked up. So I would tell my mom I'm going to go tutor his sister, I'm spending the night with his sister, all that stuff. And I just start spending more and more time with this guy. Well, one day, Valentine's Day, I wanted to go with him on Valentine's Day, and my mom wouldn't let me. I told her I wanted to go to a party. She said no. So y'all, just boldly, like, I don't know where the boldness came from. I just got up and walked out the door. Maybe people were already tipsy. She didn't see me. I don't know. But I literally just walked out the front door, just gone, out of there. And so I go spend the night with him. And the next morning, I get a voicemail from my mom cussing me out. If you don't bring your tail home. And like, I knew she was mad. And I know that my mama will go upside my head quickly. So I was like, nah, I can't go home. Can't go home. So he said, well, where do you want me to take you? And I said, well, just take me to my sister's house. They lived up the street from where I lived at. I said, well, just take me to my sister's house. That's fine. Now, y'all, I had no intentions, none, of doing anything that day. Yeah, like doing what I'm about to tell you. So my sister, she says, hey, you want to go to work with me? And I was like, okay, sure. Work means you want to go to work with me. She was a prostitute. And so I said yes, still with no intentions of doing anything. I just know I don't want to go home. So, okay, yeah, if I ride around with you, do, see what you doing, all that stuff, like, cool. So, anyways, I went to work with her and we pulled up to a gas station where she would meet her regular trick at. The trick is what you call the person who's paying for it. So you have the girl giving it, and you have the trick who's paying for it. Okay, I'm teach y'all some terminology around here. So she had a regular trick, and so she said, "Well, my sister's in the back." And so she told me to get out and turn around and let him see me. And so I did. I got out, turned around. And still to this day, I still don't know why I did that. I don't know. I don't know. So I got out, I turned around. He's pleased with what he sees. And so I get back in the car, and my sister and her pimp, they kind of lay down some rules for me. Be alert, be attentive to where you're going. You should just be going to this hotel right here. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, all that stuff. And so I get out. I get in the truck with this guy. Disgusting. It's just gross. And we go to the motel, disgusting little hole in the wall motel, and I do what I do, and he pays me his regular amount that he pays, which was $40. I sold my body for the first time for $40, and I went back. He brought me back, and I gave the pimp the money because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I gave him the money, and he gives me $20 back, and that is what changed it all. And I was like, whoa, because I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. And so I'm like, whoa, like that quick? Like I just made $20 that fast? Like I can go buy my own food? Like that can add up. And so what happened in that moment is when I gave him that money, gave the pimp the money, that is kind of what you call like choosing up. I chose him. He, and so I was in the game that day. And it all went so fast. Everything was just happening so quickly. He didn't believe, when I told him how many guys I had been with. And he's like, what? He's like, you can't be serious, like that can't be right. Like, why would you even be doing this? Was kind of his feedback, like, are you serious? But because of the way that I looked, and because I wasn't used up, he probably saw dollar signs with me. And so he took a liking to me very quickly. And he did for me what he didn't do for any of his other girls. And he took me in and like he spoiled me, which got me even deeper into it. And I know that I'm veering off a little bit, but I promise I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back to my mom. He spoiled me. I went and got my nails done, went and got my hair done, new clothes. Y'all, I wasn't experiencing any of this. Like, we were poor with my mom, but I definitely wasn't getting my nails done. I definitely wasn't getting my hair done. I definitely wasn't going to the mall and buying clothes and stuff. Like, that kind of stuff just wasn't happening. So now that I'm getting my nails done, my hair done, new clothes, money is rolling in, I'm like, life is good. Like, okay, if I gotta throw it back a little bit, to get the money, and the money was good. The money was good. I was new, and so I would post online. And a lot of people thought that I was undercovers because a lot of the girls on there, they, how do I say this without, seeming prideful or anything like this? They were just natural looking on the eyes. It was just an ordinary person. And because I looked different than the girls that were usually online, it caused the men to just flood. And so they were coming in, and uh, it was it was it was different. But the money had me blinded. And sometimes, the tricks, like sometimes they just wanted to talk to me. You know, they just wanted to be in the presence of a pretty lady. They would just come and talk to me. Some of them just wanted, massage. I'm not going to go into detail what these people wanted, but what they wanted, majority of them got. And so I was hooked on the money. And so how this comes back circle to my mother is that my mom never told me to come home. She never told me to come home. Instead, what my mom did was encouraged me. She gave me tips and tricks on what to do. Like, try this and try this. And, back in the day, my homegirl hid under the bed. And, I got the, she encouraged me in that lifestyle. And um, I just, had she maybe said, come home, don't do this, you're better than this, you know, but she didn't. And I've spoken with my spiritual mother before, and, therapists, and they say, what if that's all she knew how to do, you know? And as a kid, I saw things, and as an adult, when I think back on those things, I'm like, oh, that's what was happening. So I look back on certain situations with my mother, and I said, oh, okay, it makes sense. She was out there prostituting too. She may not have been walking the streets, but she definitely had some tricks. She definitely had some people who were in her life where she would give them sex in exchange to use their truck for a few days, or for money, or whatever, whatever it was. And so I was able to put those two together, that hey, this is already in my family blood. Like this is already in the line on both sides, because my sisters are doing it too. These are not even her daughters, but you know, that line of perversion is already there. And we're going to get into perversion on a later video. But how that circled back to my mother is that she never told me to come home. And I don't know, had she said, Chrissy, come home, would I have? I don't know. But the fact that that conversation never occurred, yes, I was blinded by the money, but it was also tiring. My body was tired. There were times where I didn't want to do that anymore, but, you know, it was, the money was good, and I didn't have anybody telling me to do anything different. Get out of that. Don't do that. Like, why are you doing, I didn't have that. And if it would have came from anyone, it should have come from my mom. Get out of that lifestyle. That is not for you. What are you doing? Come home. You don't have you don't even have a reason to be out there. Okay, maybe some people are doing that because they need the money to survive. You don't even have to be out there. Like, you were just fine here at home, you know? And so that is just a part where I felt that my mother should have said no again. But yet here I am making another decision that could have possibly changed had my mother interfered and been a parent to me. The last thing, and I'm trying to think of the words on how I can put this. Again, for legal purposes, I can't just put it out there how I want to. The last thing I would say is that because I was the main child with my mother, I saw a lot of things that my siblings did not. I went through a lot of things with my mom that my siblings did not go through. And so it caused me to have to grow up much faster than I should have. And it also caused me to kind of become the parent for my mom, because I said earlier, my mom, she was on drugs really bad. And so we were in and out of shelters, in and out of different people's homes, just constantly moving, just unstable all the time, just on the move all the time. And with that, it made me grow up more. I was more in tune, with things that I shouldn't have known anything about. And so, because my mom did drugs, a lot of the times she was out of it. And so I had to step in and be the responsible one. And so there was a time where we were in a shelter, and my mom, with some of the other ladies that were there, They left and went and got a motel, and they were just getting high all night. And I remember my mom, she got in the bed, and I guess she was still high. And I put my arm around her, my little arm. Yeah, I don't know how old I was. I was young, wasn't even 10 or 11. And I put my arm around her, and she just started crying. And she said, I should be the one holding you. And that has always stuck with me because that's just how our relationship was. I was always having to cover my mom. I was always having to, not always, but a lot of the time, having to be her covering, having to be the responsible one, having to think outside the box on what we can do to make ends meet, you know? And so it was hard. And so I called my grandmother on collect call. I'm like, Granny, we're here in El Paso. Can someone come get us? And it was just a lot of situations that we went through. I wrestled on the floor with my mom to get the crack pipe out of her hand. I went knocking on doors to get my mom to come out of there, because she's in there getting high with other people, and I'm knocking on doors. I'm arguing with drug dealers who just sold my mom dope, things like that I shouldn't have been involved in. And I was trying to protect my mother. So I gave that backstory because it will help understand this. I'm sorry, my allergies are really messed up. So if I sound stuffy, just give me some time. I won't sound like this on all my videos. So I gave that backstory because while I was out there prostituting, my sister, who was there with me also prostituting, she was pregnant. She was pregnant. Had gotten pregnant by one of the tricks, and she didn't want the baby, and so she was supposed to give the baby to my mother and my stepfather. Because my mom's older, her tubes are tied and things like that, so she obviously can't have a baby. He didn't have any kids. So my sister was supposed to give this baby to my mom. And so they're all excited. She's in labor. So my mom and stepdad, they're at the hospital. And my sister, she changes her mind and decides to keep the baby. So it should have just been left at that. Like, okay, mom, I know this is hard for y'all, but she's kept her baby. Who tries to come to the rescue? Who tries to make mom feel better? Who tries to make everything okay? Me. Now, how I tried to make this situation okay was not okay. And when I presented this to my mother, it should have been like, girl, are you crazy? Why would you even, like, she should have slapped me. But instead, she agreed. I told my mother that I would check with my pimp and see if he was okay with us making a baby to give to my mom. And so I really did. I talked to him, and he's money minded. It's money on his mind. He's like, "Are we gonna get the income tax check?" I'm like, "Let me ask." So I'm kind of going back and forth. And my mom, she don't care about the income tax checks. They just want a baby. And so she agrees to me purposely getting pregnant by my pimp so that she can have a baby. If that is not twisted, I don't know what is. And it simply came from me trying to be the covering for my mother, trying to make sure that my mom is okay. What I always did is, mom okay? If not, what can I do to make mom okay? What can I do? Because that was my mama. Like, I was with her all the time. Like, that was my mama. And so I got pregnant from my mother. I got pregnant for her on purpose to give her a baby. And it didn't take long for me to get pregnant at all. And so I got a call one day from my doctor's office, and the way that they told me about it, I thought that I had cancer. And so I said, whoa, like, if I got cancer, I'm gonna die. Like, I want to, I don't want to let my baby go. So I decided to keep my baby. And she was still hurt and upset about it, but what can you do? And so I kept my baby. And that was the best decision that I could have ever made, because he changed my life. He changed my life all the way around. And God knew what he was doing. He knew how he would map all of this out. And so my son is very much alive and active. And I'm laughing because for those who know my baby, my son, he's a character and he is everything that I needed. And so why is this a place that I need to forgive my mother in? Why this cause hurt? Is because this basically tied me to my pimp forever. Okay. Now, had I ever decided to just get up and leave, of course I could do that, but now we share a son, and because I grew up in a broken home, I don't want that for my child. And so I'm not just going to get up and leave and now leave my child without a father. I'm just not going to do that. And so I believe by her agreeing to that, helped me stay in that situation when I could have, if I didn't have a baby, I could have walked away. She should have told me no. All three of those stories that I told, she should have told me no. But she didn't. She didn't tell me no. And it changed my life, and it has caused me hurt, and it has caused me anger in some areas, and just so many questions and disappointments. I was disappointed in her as a mother, and whether she did the best that she could, that's good and all, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm still hurt. And so that's really all as far as parental hurt that I want to talk about. Why was that the first thing that I chose to talk about? I don't know. But trust me, I have many more stories to tell about. And even though those are older, there's still new things happening now, new things that God is working on me in my life now. And so if you take away anything from this video, as a parent, let it be that you make sure that your children are children, and that they remain children, and that they don't ever pick up the burden of feeling like they have to parent you, that they don't ever pick up the burden of feeling like they need to cover you. It's okay to cry in front of I feel to an extent it's okay for me to cry in front of my kids, because they need to know that I'm human too. But what I won't do is make them figure out a solution for me. What I won't do is make them try to figure out how to make me better, because that's not their job and they don't deserve that weight. So as a parent, remember that you are the parent, and your child is just that. They are a child. Don't make them be your covering. Don't make them feel obligated that they have to make sure that you are okay. It is not your child's job to make sure that you are okay. Now, maybe later down the line, when you're an old person and your children take care of you, that's different. That's a form of honor. But while you're able to care for yourself, do that. If you have already see in areas where you have started placing that burden upon your child, you need to lift it now. And if you find that they're always trying to be an adult or acting as an adult, remind them you're a kid. I got it. Mama got it. Daddy got it. We got it. You're good. Be a kid. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Focus on school. Have fun. Let them be a kid. And if you're on the other side and you are a young person and you already have accepted that burden and that weight, if it's possible for you to transition that back and back up a little bit, and maybe instead of every time when you see something going wrong, that you don't always try to find the solution, because it's not your job and your place to find the solution. Allow your parents, allow your guardian to figure it out, because trust me, you will become an adult and you will have enough time in the world to try to make things work out and figure things out. But as a child, it's not your place. Release the burden. Let go of the burden. Give that back to who it belongs to. Okay? So I really hope that, someone was able to resonate with this today. I don't know what the next video will be on. Probably just random story times. There's a lot that I want to talk about. I want to do a video just on like my beliefs. What do I believe as a Christian? You know, just different things, like that. Because some of my stories, when people hear them, they're gonna be like, what? Like, you believe that specifically? And I'll just give y'all insight. I will share my story of when I was delivered. Delivered from what? Delivered from demons. All right, I'm gonna go before y'all unsubscribe. It's real. Demons are real, but Jesus is realer. Okay, and his power is much greater, and he can and he does set people free. And I cannot wait to share that with you all. Maybe the next video, may not be, I don't know, but I do want to thank everyone so much for watching. As always, if you are in a place where you are ready to share your journey, please send me an email, unashamedtestimony@gmail.com, so that we can get it out there. It's not just going to be me on here blabbing all the time. I want ladies of all different backgrounds to come, to come in and talk and share their story, because somebody is going to hear this and it's going to break. Something in them is going to break, and they're going to realize, I don't have to stay down like this, right? Okay, so I'm going to end this video. Before I go, I want to pray, because you never know how this touched somebody. So I'm going to say a quick prayer, and then I'm going to see you all in the next video. So Father God, I thank you so much, Lord, just for this video, God, of just talking about hurt that came about by way of our parents, my mother and my father. Father, I thank you, Lord, that even though my parents were not perfect, that I have a Father in heaven who is perfect. I have a Father in heaven who is good all the way around. I have a Father in heaven who never does wrong, who never chooses wrong, and who never wants wrong. He gets it right every single time. And so, Father, I thank you that even though our parents are imperfect down here, that we can always rely on you, that we can always trust in you, that we can always come to you, and you will never let us down. Father, I pray for every heart that is hurting due to hurt from their mother and their father and their mother being absent from their lives, or maybe they were there and they were just neglecting. They weren't very active in their lives. Father, I thank you for every heart right now, Lord, that is healing. Father, I ask that you just heal the hearts, Father, that you will make them whole again, oh God. Father, I ask that you will help them be able to let go of the hurt that was caused by their parents, Father. Help them to release that hurt, Lord, to give it to you and to pick up your healing, God. I thank you for forgiveness, Lord. I thank you that you are breaking down the walls to where people will be able to forgive their parents for what they did, not making excuses for what was done, but Father, just forgiving them for what happened. And whether the parents are alive or whether they're gone, we can still forgive. It's just a choice. And whether we're able to forgive and our feelings line up immediately, or whether we have to forgive over and over and over again, Father, be with us during the process. Lord, I thank you so much for healing our hearts. I thank you so much, Father, for making us whole. And I thank you that you are the perfect Father. God, I thank you that you are the perfect Father. I thank you so much that you are not like us, where we can mess up, we can bend, we can sway, we can change up. But you, God, you are the same. And you are good and you are amazing. And so, Lord, I thank you now, Lord, for every person that is watching this video, Lord, that you will personally touch them and begin the healing process in their hearts and in their minds, Father. Make them whole. Heal them, oh God, and give them hope to let them know that things will not always be this way, that they don't have to continue on, that they can give you this burden, oh God, and that you will lift it. God, you're good, and I thank you, and I love you, and I pray this prayer in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all. See y'all in the next video.